Oh no! I mean, I would have, I would have worked with Andrew Dominik if he had have been doing a, no matter what he was doing, because not just because of Chopper, but because I know the guy and I know how kind of sussed he is about things and how clever and we're pretty much, we're very much on the same page about things. Like I said, it was a sort of privilege to work with him in that he did really push us. And, we're inclined, me and Warren are kind of inclined to do something, don't sit back and go, fuck, isn't that fantastic? Isn't that great? We don't really, mostly because it is. But we don't kind of, and often we're working with very low budgets, so people are just sort of amazed that we can give them like an entire soundtrack in 3 days. We've just done another one. We did this incredible documentary about called Russian Roulette, about an English brain surgeon who's going. Have you heard about that?
I've heard about it. Yeah.
Going to Kiev and doing these kind of doing brain surgery in Kiev. And we did the soundtrack for that, and that was in a day and a half or something like that. But it's really beautiful, and so these people are really kind of happy to get something. But Andrew has, he just knows exactly what he wants, and he just waits for you, to give that to him. He knows that you can. He just waits for you till he gets the right music, and keeps putting you back in until he does.
You can see it's a film that so much attention has been paid to every aspect. I mean, even the supporting cast. People like I think it's Paul Schneider, who was in the David Gordon Green film. I mean, he's got Brad Pitt in there, and then he's surrounded them with all these really interesting character actors. Yeah. The detail is amazing. The other thing with this film, which we haven't seen from you for a while, is you appear as well. You play the kind of barroom troubadour who kind of really encapsulates the legend of Jesse James. You kind of do the snapshot overview of the fact that he was this kind of heroic figure, rightly or wrongly, and Robert Ford was the dirty little coward.
Rotten coward. Yeah.
Why the decision to act again in this film? Because you haven't acted for a while. It's been a while since you've done something.
It actually didn't do much for my acting confidence, because I was actually given one line. I'm supposed to sing that song, and then Robert Ford turns around and says, I'm Robert Ford, and I'm supposed to say, I don't want no trouble from you, boy, like that. And I practiced this line for like 3 months or something like that, in all the various American accents I could work out and all that sort of stuff. And in the rehearsal, I sang the song, and everyone was very pleased, and then said my line, and Andrew Dominik immediately just burst into laughter, and kind of, I just sort of, after he kind of recovered, kind of said, "Now, is there one of the extras who could say, 'He doesn't want trouble from you, boy,'" kind of like that. So I got this line taken off me, and so that's once again kind of reminded me that I should never, don't act.
Do you really not like acting? I mean,
actually, I find acting the most tiresome, painful, kind of irritating work that's around, personally. And I don't know if Andrew worked everyone like this, but we were there kind of from an ungodly hour in the morning till like 11 at the evening doing this over and over and over and over again. But I mean, it might be nice if you're a great actor, and you're kind of a great actor, and you're going to do something. You're going to go on and you're going to do something that's a great work of art. But I know I'm not a good actor. In fact, I know I'm a really shit actor. And what I'm going to do might barely scrape through, or they'll be able to kind of cut around me or hobble some sort of performance together that might just pass muster, But so I guess there's that aspect to it. When they go action in my head, rather than thinking of the lines, I'm thinking of I'm ruining this film. So anyway,
we don't ruin this one, but
it's
I mean,
all right. It's all right.
But no, I thought I thought you were good in it, actually. And
fuck all this morning.
Yeah, but I mean, your association with film goes back beyond. I mean, it goes back some way, but even beyond acting. I mean, the way that your music has been used in films, close association with Wim Wenders, but also apart from just the acting and the soundtrack work, obviously you've begun to be more involved in other aspects of filmmaking, specifically the writing. I mean, The Proposition was a fantastic script. Is this something that you're going to do more of? Because when I interviewed you last year at CineCity, you and Johnny were talking about another film project which was going to be a kind of rom-com set in Hove. Is that something we're still going to see from you?
Well, I wrote that. It's not a rom-com.
Right.
That's I'm yet to write my rom-com. It's a, I don't know what kind of a film you call it. I guess it's a very English kind of film, but you know, it's at least it's certainly bearing that in mind and playing on that, I guess. And I wrote that, but the thing is that the proposition kind of caused, you know, a lot of interest. There was a lot of interest around the proposition, and John's just been kind of got some big stuff come his way, and so we were going to do this. This is called Death of a Ladies' Man, for at the moment at least. We were going to just do this quickly to keep Johnny to keep his hand in while he got something going, but it was proving more difficult to get this smaller amount of money than it was to get the larger amount of money for the proposition. I guess we want like £500,000 too much, and there's a certain amount of money that an independent film can get to make a small English film, and that's it. You get $3.5 million, you don't get $4 million or something like that. And John wants $4 million because he wants this to look really good, this film. So anyway, it's just been put on hold, unfortunately.
But it's something you will go back to at some point.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a really good script. I mean, it's much more accomplished than the proposition, I think. The proposition was just very raw and kind of working out how to write a script, really.
I think the rawness of the proposition, though, was what made it so great. I mean, you see things in westerns, it's like watching a great Peckinpah western. I think it's still probably the greatest western director. You see things in a Peckinpah film like The Wild Bunch, which kind of remind you of the brutality of what it must have been like, and it was a harsh existence, and I think the proposition really captures that. The kind of body of work that you've amassed is I mean, it's been impressive for a while, but increasingly you seem to be becoming more prolific, and there's not been a slackening off of quality. You know, the Grinder Man project this year, a new Bad Seeds album about to be upon us, and also you mentioned Warren Ellis, and I was interested to note that you've been doing some work with an Icelandic theatre company. You did a score for, was it Wojciech?
Yeah, we've done two actually now,
yeah.
and a third one's coming up. We did Wojciech, and then they did Metamorphosis, and now they're doing Faust. They did really well, those things. One's pretty much on Broadway now. I think that's Metamorphosis, but they're really good.
But I mean, it's a lot of work, and as I said, you're becoming more prolific. And how do you find the time and the kind of energy to do it, or do you just think it's a blessing that you're able to turn your hand to these different tasks?
Yeah, I don't really kind of think about it. We just, you know, it's a lot of it's to do with me and Warren together. We just both have a kind of energy towards things. You know, we'd basically finished the Bad Seeds record, which for me, writing this record was really, really hard. It was a extremely difficult record to write in its way, but anyway, it's a really good record because of it. And we both basically finished the last day of mixing of that, and both of us the next day kind of rang each other up and were saying, what are we going to do about the next Grinder Man record? And Warren's like, you know, the thing I was thinking about this on the way back from the studio back to Paris, was how much I want to get into the studio as soon as possible and do the next Grinder Man. So there's not it's just a very exciting period, and everything that we're doing at this point in time, and things change. You know, in 5 years' time, it could well not be like that. Just as 5 years ago, it wasn't really like that as well. But it's just a particular moment in time, and one thing we do just suggest extremely strongly the next thing to do, where to go next, and it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it, really. There's a great energy about it going on at the moment.
Thanks for joining us here on the CineCity podcast. Visit www.cine-city.co.uk to view or download this year's full programme, book tickets and receive up-to-the-minute festival news. You can also subscribe to the podcast while you're there to make sure you never miss an episode. The CineCity podcast is created in association with Director's Notes, the weekly film podcast dedicated to the what, how and why of independent filmmaking. Find it at directorsnotes.com. Today's interviews were recorded and produced by CineCity Productions at www.synchronicity-tv.co.uk.